Hello and welcome to another edition of the A-League Rundown here on Football Manager 2021. It's been another big week of A-League action. Here is all the news and results in the Mariners' massive universe. We begin, as always, with the Reds, Adelaide United. They suffered a 1-0 loss away at Sydney FC before securing all 3 points with a win at Cooper Stadium against MacArthur Bulls. Michael Jakobsen contributed a penalty and Tommy Juric was back on the scoresheet. Jakobsen, interestingly, has secured a move since that game. He is headed overseas to Horsens, as discussed last week here on the Rundown. Similarly, Javier Lopez has already negotiated a return back to Spain in the summer. That'll happen in August with Sporting Gijón. He has rejected an offer from Girona, who I believe are in the City football group, the same family as Melbourne City and of course Manchester City here in the UK. Brisbane Roar had 2 games in 3 days at Dolphin Stadium. Like Adelaide, they lost the first, a 2-0 reverse to Melbourne Victory, before defeating Wellington Phoenix by 2 goals, scored by Jay O'Shea from the penalty spot and Jack Hingett in extra time at the end of the second half. Warren Moon is still casting a bit of an eye at Jordan Elsey. As you can see, there are plenty of news items linking the Brisbane Roar boss with the Adelaide central defender. Even Carl Vert is getting involved. As you can see there, I'm open to discussions. If that isn't responding in kind to the interest, I don't know what is. As far as the Mariners ourselves are concerned, we won in the F3 derby away in the Hunter, thanks to goals from Matty Simon and Michel Janota, before securing that big 8-4 win over Perth Glory, which of course was broadcast here on YouTube. Go and check that video out. The other big news is that our defensive signing has come off. We have now brought in George Niedermeyer. He is signed following approval for his work permit. That was what was holding it up. He should be partnering Ruan Tongic in our defence. Not convinced by Kai Rolls. Ironically, both central defenders have been playing really well in real life, but here in the Mariners Massive, I'm just not confident in Kai Rolls at all. Niedermeyer, I think, will come in and just go straight into the first team. MacArthur had a bad week, 2 losses in succession. That now makes it 1 win in 8 games for the Bulls. The latest defeats were at the hands of Wellington Phoenix and Adelaide United, both at Campbelltown Stadium, which is the worrying part. Adam Federici suffered an injury on the training ground. He'll be out for 10 days with a gashed lower leg. Now, that was 4 days ago, so he's probably got about another week before he returns to full fitness or anything like that. Goalkeepers usually are a little bit different, and you can play them a little bit more when they're not fully fit. It's not going to hurt you as much as an outfield player. For Melbourne City, it's now 1 win in 10 games after a 1-1 draw with Western Sydney Wanderers at Amy Park, before suffering defeat to Jeonbuk in a Champions League East playoff. Jamie McLaren missed that game. He was out with an injury. As you can see, he was forced to watch his teammates from the stand, and that, I suspect, contributed to City not being able to get a big result there in the Champions League. The other big news for them is that Western United's interest in Craig Noone continues. The Green and Black want to sign the 33-year-old English winger. Whether City are up for selling him on, I guess we'll find out pretty soon. In contrast, Melbourne Victory have had a very good week, with wins over Brisbane Roar and the Newcastle Jets, both away from home. The goals have been shared out, with Rudy Gestede, Adama Traore Elvis Kamsoba and Ben Folamani all notching. Jake Brimmer has signed a new 2-year contract to stay at Melbourne Victory, but increasingly it looks like Jake Butterfield will be heading back to Blighty with rejected contracts from Charlton and Ipswich. Expect them both to come back in with improved offers. Newcastle Jets have now gone 8 games without a win, losing their most recent fixtures to ourselves in the F3 Derby and then Melbourne Victory. Luis Italiano has picked up a twisted ankle, but bit of a celebration here. Rami Najjarine has been named A-League Young Player of the Month with a goal and 2 assists to his name so far this season. So things not going too badly over there at the Jets. However, they do find themselves down in 10th place on the ladder. Perth Glory have yet to win a game all season, losing their most recent chances to get 3 points to Western United, but Bruno Fornaroli at least did get a goal before the 8-3 hammering, the horror show, against the Central Coast Mariners, managed by myself. Richard Garcia is still very much on the bubble. He could be sacked any day now, as the team's hierarchy appear to finally be losing patience with the manager. Rumours in the press indicate that a change of manager could be the solution to the team's continuing on-field problems. Does not look good for Richard Garcia. Sydney FC have played just 1 game, winning 1-0 over Adelaide United, and it was Trent Bahagia with the goal. Anthony Caceres has signed a new 2-year contract with the club, and, interestingly, Sydney FC's group for the Asian Champions League has been drawn. They're in there with Chiang Rai United, Beijing and Ulsan, so some pretty strong teams there as far as the Sky Blues are concerned. Good luck then to them getting out of their group. Wellington Phoenix have won 1 and lost 1 in the last week, winning against MacArthur with goals from Mirza Muratovic and Joshua Sotirio before promptly crashing to defeat to Brisbane Roar. It appears that Ingolstadt have now signed Joshua Laws for a pretty low fee, 6.25k down. The transfer may eventually rise to 8k. Only 22 years old, he played for Fortuna Düsseldorf, second team, before joining the Knicks in 2020. He rejected offers from Dynamo Dresden and Magdeburg. There you go. Joshua Laws on the move. As you can see, in the past, Matthew Rydenton suffering defeat against his former club, that being the Brisbane Roar. Western Sydney Wanderers continue their resurrection, as no wins in 6 has become 2 wins in 3 games. A draw earned a point from Melbourne City at Amy Park, before Carl Robinson's side recorded a 3-0 success at Western United, with Anthony Lesiotis, Bernie Abini and Kwame Yeboah scoring the decisive goals. There is some transfer news with the Wanderers. Goalkeeper Robert Zwinkels, who plays for ADO Den Haag in Holland, is a target for Carl Robinson, who, it has to be said, needs a result from the upcoming game against Brisbane Roar. Western Sydney still down in 9th place on the ladder. We will look at the table in more detail in a second, but clearly not going so well there at Bankwest Stadium. Western United could be about to lose Tomoki Imai. He has been the subject of several bids, and it has to be said, Western United's inconsistency has continued. A win over Perth was followed by a loss to Western Sydney Wanderers, and that means they haven't recorded 2 results of the same outcome in succession. And that comes since winning their first 2 games. If we have a very quick look at their schedule, you can see the difference They started off with wins against Sydney FC, impressive. Melbourne Victory, 3-0. Since then, it's been a draw, win, draw, loss, draw, win, and now loss to Western Sydney. Just got to wonder, is that strategy getting them enough points to get them in the top 6? Currently it is doing, but whether that's the case at the end of the season is something altogether different. In terms of the A-League ladder, as you can see, the Central Coast Mariners are back on top, a goal difference of plus 16, 22 points from 9 games played, 7 were won and 1 was a draw. Also in the top 6 we have Wellington Phoenix, who dropped away slightly, losing their last game, Sydney FC, Adelaide United, Western United and Macarthur Bulls. Still some big teams down at the foot of the table. Perth Glory only 2 points thanks to 2 draws to their name. You have to go up a little bit to find Melbourne City on 8 points, as just 4 separate those bottom 5 clubs just above Perth Glory. So everybody down from Brisbane Roar to Melbourne City really covered by just a few points. In terms of the upcoming fixtures that we've got, as you can see, we begin at HBF Park, Perth Glory hosting Melbourne Victory. The Mariners step onto the field to take on Wellington Phoenix. This is obviously a midweek game, so that will not be broadcast on YouTube. Meanwhile, the 2 Uniteds clash, Western and Adelaide, in the late game that day. Then Saturday the 6th of February, this is next weekend, we've got Wellington Phoenix hosting Adelaide United. A Melbourne derby. Melbourne Victory host Melbourne City. Before the following day, it's the Mariners versus Macarthur. Can't wait to see how we do against the Bulls. And Perth Glory meets Sydney FC in a battle of genuine heavyweights in Australian football. Thank you for joining me today. That was the A-League Rundown, and I will see you next week for another episode of the Mariners Massive. Check it out. It drops on Thursdays every week, and then we have the rundown here on Sunday. Thank you very much.